plate. If it's just white and brown, that's not a good thing.
That's right.
Yes.
If it's colorful, it's probably good for you.
Hey, do you ever wonder how a true Hollywood insider remains on the inside? After all, it is their job to expose all the behind-the-scenes details, some of which the stars would prefer not to become public knowledge.
Well, it does help if you've lived as a star and seen just how it works on the inside. So that way, you know what to do how to handle it when other people are putting their lives into your hands. And of course, our first guest has lived a life of stardom as a musician. He's kind of a man of all trades. He's performed with some of the best from Broadway to LA.
And after a decade-long respite from the spotlight, Jesse Cutler has written a new book titled StarLust, The Price of Fame, and he is today's Spotlight guest. And here he is, Jesse Cutler. Nice to have you here, Jesse.
Sam, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
You have had
what a career.
An unbelievable career. There's really not much you have not done, and I think your biggest accomplishment, I think, would be Godspell.
Well, that's true. I was introduced to Stephen Schwartz back in the early 70s, and he was playing a little rinky-dinky piano, and he goes, well, I wrote a play. I go, what's it called? He goes, Godspell. I go, that's a great name, Godspell. And let's hear the music. And then one day I went in the studio and I re-recorded all the piano tracks, and I go, I think these are guitar tracks. And he goes, you're right. So about 70–80% of the songs became guitar-oriented, and then I became co-arranger of the score. It ran for 12 years and won a Grammy and went to #1 with a bullet.
Which really put more of a rock edge on it.
In fact, as I just mentioned, I go, you really know you made it in life when Hallmark puts your little music like this.
So you can send that to friends and go, hey, from me, really, from
Honest,
me. That's me.
800 consecutive shows you performed.
800 shows in a row, and it was a ball. You have 2,500 people in the studio or in the audience, and every night, 8 shows a week, on Dark Day Monday, you just fall in love. It was a standing ovation every show, and there was an intermission where they served wine and people would come backstage, and I met Ed Sullivan, Liza Minnelli, Barbara Streisand. I mean, every major star eventually came to the show. They came in busloads, nuns, priests, from every denomination. It was just a phenomenal show that touched the nerve of time during Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar. So we were, all the casts all kind of hung together.
You hobnobbed with the biggest of the biggest stars.
Pretty much so.
Do you have any juicy gossip about any of those people in this book?
Let's see, a little gossip. Well, I'm not a big gossip kind of guy because really it's autobiographical, but it takes you through the 50s, 60s, 70s up to the New Year's Eve of 1980. And during that course of time, I would say as a child, when I was 13, I had my first band called the Young Executives. And we were signed to Mercury Records, and I met Lauren Bacall and Eli Wallach and who else? Leonard Bernstein.
You
and they
played for the Beatles.
Well, how about this one?
Beatles.
1964, when the Beatles came to Shea Stadium in New York, we were playing at the East Quogue Barge, the place called the Barge, and we're playing Please Please Me and all these Beatles songs, and my father goes, the Beatles are here. But we were 13. We were 13, and we're wearing derbies and 3-piece pinstripe suits with little gold watch chains, and we're playing this, and all of a sudden I see John Lennon go by, and he goes, you're a freaking midget, you know. And we're playing this stuff, and I'm looking at the Beatles walking in with the Beatle boots, which I still love, and it was just a major thrill. And went backstage with them, and they sat with us, and I played guitar. And George Harrison said, "What sign are you?" I go, "Virgo." He goes, "No, that's really very detailed. You'll be a good guitar player." But we thought we were just as big as the Beatles at 13. We had no idea of the cultural global impact that these 4 guys were having on the world.
Right.
So, you know, that was a wonderful time.
Go ahead.
We were talking earlier about how there is a community that you have to be, once you, in the music industry, once you are like allowed into the stable, so to speak, from somebody, then you are made a star, because there's so many people out there with talent that just don't get anywhere.
Well, the greatest talent has yet to be discovered. Just like that woman Susan Boyle on American Idol, she stepped up and all of a sudden it's media.
I keep waiting, but they're not knocking on my door. I don't know why.
Let me you want to hear something good? When I was putting the book together, I made a couple of phone calls of old friends, and I called Paul Schaefer from the David Letterman show. I go, Paul, I want to get back in the game. I have a very special book, and I have a mission here. He goes, no problem, I'll write the foreword for the book. Then I have to call Stephen Schwartz up in his home in Richfield, Connecticut. Stephen, you know, I'm embedded in your music for life. It's, you know, worldwide, it's famous, you know. can you write something for me on my book? No problem. I'll have to read a little bit of it. I go, well, just take my word for it. It's a good book. And then I had a few other people get involved. And just those people in time, as time matures us and we distill into who we become, there's a certain plateau that you reach that you have to be pulled into the business by someone in that power zone, so to speak. Otherwise, you really can never really get in.
Right.
All right. Well, he's in, and he's got some good stuff in here.
Jesse Cutler, this is an excellent book, and by the way, part of the proceeds go to Habitat for Humanity.
Which is very, very good. The book is titled StarLust, The Price of Fame. Jesse Cutler, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Hey, coming up next, a return to the charming town of Charleston, South Carolina.
And we will visit the incredible arts community that thrives there. It is beautiful.